So I got this lens here that has changed me in ways that I didn't expect. Made me realize things about myself that I didn't even know, that I wasn't considering. And I wanted to tell you about it. Now, this isn't a gear review channel. I'm not going to be reviewing pieces of kit all the time, but I picked this lens up recently and I wanted to share what I've noticed about myself and about the lens and my photography with it. I thought that might be useful to someone probably. It's had a bigger impact on me than I realized or thought that it would, and I wanted to highlight that here. So let's rewind the clock to why I bought this lens in the first place. I have an 85mm lens, and I have a 28 to 70mm zoom lens, which is what I'm shooting this video on right now. So this lens is already covered. This 40mm is covered in the 28 to 70. So why did I want to buy this? Well, a couple of reasons. I had taken the 28 to 70 out and about to shoot with it, and I would try to put it close to the 40mm mark and kind of shoot at that range and see what I liked. But the images around the edges felt softer to me than I wanted. I wanted it to be sharp pretty much across the board. If everything was in focus, I wanted it to be sharp. And this lens didn't seem to do that for me. It would be sharp in the middle, but then on the edges and corners, it would kind of fade out, especially if I was shooting wide or open. But even if I stopped down to like f4, f8, it would still be noticeably softer in the corners than it would be in the middle. And the 85 was pretty zoomed in, and I was trying to get out and about taking pictures of things, and I would have the 85 and realize I was too close to whatever it was I was trying to photograph. And so I wanted to have something wider, but not super wide. I didn't really want to go down into the, 24 range or wider. 35 I would have considered as well, but I really liked the 40mm lens because of its size. It's really small, and it doesn't have a super bright maximum aperture. It's at f2.5, which is still pretty good for a lot of things. It's not going to give you quite as deeply out of focus stuff as like a 1.8 or a 1.4 would do. But I still think it brings a lot in a compact package that was compelling for me. So I went to go buy the lens, and initially I was going to buy it new because why not? It's available new. But I started looking at the used stuff, and I know it's a better deal for your money most of the time to be able to buy something used. You can save a little bit of money that way. I just always was concerned about what condition it's going to be in. Is it going to be as good as the retailer says it is? Or if you're buying it on eBay, you kind of don't know what's broken. Is there anything broken with it? What's going on? I ended up buying this on B&H. They have a used section, and they have a scale of how they rate their used equipment. This was rated at like a 9 or something, so they rated it pretty well, and it was still about $100 off or so. So I went ahead and bought it, and I'm not really sure what they had seen on it to bring the rating down from like essentially perfect. I couldn't find anything that was wrong with it, so they must be going over it with a fine-tooth comb to be able to come away with saying it's not a 10. So I'm really pleased with it, really pleased with that buying experience, buying it used. So I think I probably will keep that in mind when I'm shopping for things later, of looking at what's available used, because it can save money, and if the retailer's doing their due diligence, it's not really as much of a risk if it's rated fairly well for the condition. So what's my experience been using it? Well, I've taken it out to shoot a handful of times now, and I realized that I wasn't sure if I actually liked it. So I was taking pictures with it. I would go to frame up something, and I'd take a shot, come home, not really feeling like I got much of anything that I liked. Put it up on my computer and not really feeling like I liked what I got. I felt like I had taken a step backward in being able to capture something that I felt good about for a little while. And I wondered why that was. It did get sharp pictures. It fulfilled, the requirements that I had set out for it when I bought it. But I kind of knew that it would, looking at reviews of the lens. So why was I not connecting with it? Why was I not finding it to be what I needed it to be? It took me a little while, but I realized that my way of seeing the world was not what I thought it was. What do I mean by that? I would go out and I would go to take pictures, and I would look at a scene and I would notice like something smaller within the scene that I was drawn to, and I liked the way that it looked. And I would pick up my camera and put it to my eye, and the field of view was obviously a lot wider than that. And so it wasn't what I was trying to shoot. And I think I know why. So I had been shooting with the 85, like I said, and with the other lenses. And I've shot with the 35 before that I've rented, or like a macro lens. It's like 100mm or something. So I've shot with different focal lengths. I didn't think it would be as big of a change. But what I've realized is that a lot of the photography experience I've had before has been either using the 85 as like my main lens, where it's fairly punched in, or being in a situation like shooting a wedding or a family session or some kind of event where the point of focus is actually fairly far away. And so in those contexts, as a photographer, you do want to be stepped back. You want to be, further away from what you're photographing. What you're photographing. You want to be further away from it because you want to be able to punch in and not be physically yourself that close and distracting for people that are there for the main event, right? You're documenting that event, trying to capture those moments, but you're not front and center. So you're not putting yourself out there. And having done that several times, I think it just trained my eye to look for things that were further away that would be things that I could take a picture of. And I realized that way of looking at the world was not going to work with a 40mm lens on my camera. And it's been a hard thing to change the way that I see what I'm looking at, how I frame up what I'm looking for, and just noticing more of what's actually closer to me. And I still do this, like when I'm out shooting with it, I still will, see something off in the distance. This is probably just the way, human vision and processing works. But seeing something further away that, that little piece right there looks cool, but maybe not the whole scene that's like as you're there present with it. And so, relocating myself to be physically closer to the things that I'm trying to capture has been really interesting, because I know I don't naturally get up that close when I'm trying to photograph something. I say naturally, again, it's the habits that I've built up from the context I've been in for taking pictures before and the gear that I've had. So this lens has really changed how I even look at the world when I don't have the camera in front of me, when I'm not trying to capture something, that I'm just out and about. And I'll make another video about this at some point, but I think being a photographer includes how you look at the world when you don't have a camera with you. I think that there is a lot to be said for the way that you look at the world and what you're seeing around you that shapes what you take pictures of as you go forward. That I think is a really interesting thing, at least for me. Like, realizing all of these things, I'm exploring and I'm learning and I'm figuring things out. And this was, this putting this lens on my camera has been a revelation in a way of just how I've been essentially tunnel visioning myself to see just some small piece of the world around me and not really open up and look at what all is actually right in front of me. Now, a 40 millimeter lens is obviously not that wide. Like, it's not going to capture, a near 180-degree field of view, or even 100. Like, it's going to be somewhat zoomed in from like your normal human vision. But I realized that I would see the world as though I were a telephoto lens, and with a non-telephoto lens on my camera, I've had to relearn how I look at the world. And I think that's one of the things that's been so strange to me. I didn't even realize how I looked at the world until I got this lens and what that actually meant for my photography. Thank you for watching this video. I obviously have no idea how to end these things, as the last couple videos have just trailed off into nothing and then the video just ends. So I figure I should take a minute and say thank you. Please subscribe if you liked this video. Leave it a thumbs up, whatever those things are that the platform wants from us now. I'm not going to call that out every single time. I'm not going to ask you to like every video. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe after every video. But I think I should probably from time to time do it. And maybe I'll make a video about what I do and don't want to include in these videos. Doing the whole, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell thing isn't what I want to do. But I think it does genuinely help when people do that. So I figured I would call it out here. So I will see you in the next one.